We're now going to have our first feature here, John, will come up. So John Birdsall is an award-winning freelance writer whose byline has appeared in Lucky Peach, Bon Appetit, Eater, Food and Wine, Edible San Francisco, and more. He's working on a new biography of James Beard, The Man Who Ate Too Much, to be published by W.W. Norton and Company. And John, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I started writing just to make some quick money. It was not very much money, but it was quick. And so I wanted to write, or I wanted to read something that I wrote for Lucky Peach. I collaborated with a chef from Oakland who grew up in northern Thailand and Laos. And so we went there on a couple of research trips. And so this came out of one of those trips. This is called The Trouble with Uno. Bangkok before dawn is turgid and murky like canal water, the taxis and scooters churning in place at stoplight eddies beneath the BTS SkyTrain. But on this relatively cool morning, Uno is buzzing like pink and neon in a discharge tube. Uno, which is neither his real name nor anything close to his chosen one, is a 26-year-old Bangkok kid with a high forehead and round glasses that make him look like Arthur, the cartoon aardvark. He is meeting us for the first time at this bitch of an hour, dressed in a fresh-looking t-shirt and pressed shorts, no-show socks pulled up above Converse camo low tops, smiling and pray hands bowing, Swati Kab, Swati Kab, Swati Kab, just after 5 a.m. out front of our hotel. The us is a random-looking entourage from California. James, a chef with a Michelin star, Manny, James's quiet and elaborately inked-up chef de cuisine, James's cousin Eric, decent speaker of Thai and taker of zero shit, the other Eric, a photographer, and me, a writer, eyes stinging from a paucity of sleep. We're mid-trip in a month-long eating research project through Thailand, and Uno, his fingers now forking a freshly lit Marlboro, pacing behind a van we'll climb into as soon as everybody's down in the elevator, smile faded, talking into the iPhone mic on earbuds that for the next 10 days will almost never leave his head, is our guide on this new leg. Uno works for a Thai consumer super brand, and executive there, Uno's boss, offered to guide James, and Uno was assigned to take us north. This morning we fly to Ubon Ratchathani in northeast Thailand, Isan country. And for the next 10 days, Uno will escort us first through Ubon, then into Khon Kaen to Chiang Mai, and up onto Chiang Rai, and on up to Chiang Rai. When we're done, he'll fly us back to Bangkok. He is our road manager, clutching everybody's airline tickets. He will ride shotgun next to the driver in our 11-seater van through cities and on open roads, slurping the same noodles as us, stopping where James wants to stop, finding places where we'll want to eat, waiting, Marlboro in fingers, pacing, talking into his earbud mic, while we piss out beer and whiskey at a highway stop. And he is also, I assume, our minder, reporting back to his boss in Bangkok through his earphone in the quick, never-ending thrum of Thai he voices in the front seat, off into the digital invisible. I find out later he has an elegant first name and an aristocratic family one, granted to his ancestors by King Rama IV. His real nickname, Nong, means one, he's firstborn. Only most of us can't pronounce it with the right cascading tonality and nasal dissolve, so instead we call him number one. After 10 minutes on the way to Suvarnabhumi Airport, this has already morphed into numero uno, and now, as the van pulls up to the drop-off, is now simply Uno. Uno speaks graceful Thai into his iPhone mic, with inflections that rise smoothly and linger, then fade or drop. But in English, he sounds world-weary. Instead of yes, he says sure, sure, slightly dipping his head as if he'd realized some sad and inescapable truth. We having breakfast when we get to Ubon? Is that the plan? Sure, sure, Mr. John. Breakfast in Ubon, he says, dropping his head before turning back to his iPhone, then thin smile dissolving, picking up again in Thai. There's a dolorousness hanging over Uno that I can't put my finger on. Up north he changes. Now he's our fixer, our fresh-faced pimp. Somebody randomly mentions pizza in the van on our way out of Ubon. Uno stops talking into his iPhone, turns around from his seat up front. You want pizza? We do not. Later, one night after we've all been drinking, Uno calls out, you want a prostitute? 200 baht. We do not want a prostitute, any more than we want a pizza. But it's Uno's job to get us the things we came for. He's diligent. You want to go to a strip club? Pass. I get the feeling Uno is used to escorting businessmen from Sydney or Hong Kong, groups who would actually want these things, not weirdos like us seeking congealed pork blood in cheap noodle shops or bile-stained water buffalo lob at sleepy riverside places. One night the man pulls up to what looks like a blonde sandstone mansion. We tumble out and realize we're in a sushi place. Buffed floors, a visible wine cage, hostesses with fixed smiles in tight sheath dresses and tumbling hair. Fuck no, James says, and Uno's head dips. He huddles with the driver, talks into his phone. We end up at a sprawling, dark, and rickety outdoor place, eating sticky jackfruit salad and blistered, tannic jungle curry. A cockroach falls onto the table from an overhang, and I jump. It gives us something to laugh about. Uno recovered, readjusted his settings. He came through. One night, he gets us into this huge open-air bar where foreigners aren't supposed to go. Swati Kab, Uno says to the bouncer, who has a small straw fedora, a single ear gauge the size of a watch face, and a sleeve tattoo. Uno's showing respect, doing the prey hand's bow thing extra high, talking in his elegant Thai. The bouncer lets us in, though we have to sit at a table up front. Uno keeps smiling, Swati cobbing whenever he catches the bouncer's eye. He seems pretty cool, Manny says. Bouncers back home are usually assholes. Actually, Uno says, still smiling, he's an asshole. But I have to be polite, so he lets us stay. Soon, asshole sends us a plastic pitcher of Thai whiskey and Red Bull, ice cubes sloshing. He poses for pictures with the Erics and James, compares tattoos with Manny. Uno knows how things work, where things figure in the reckoning of status and respect. But Uno, it turns out, is in deep shit. Somewhere on the road out of Ubon, Ratchathani, he was ditching us more, spending more time in his hotel room. Manny got the real story. Showing groups of tourists around Thailand was an offshoot of Uno's job. His main gig was organizing concerts in northern cities, shows the super brand would heavily market and promote. The next concert, a big outdoor show with 10 bands, was a week away, and the owner of the venue, the city's mayor, was suddenly refusing to take down the 30 light poles like he promised. Basically, everybody who bought a ticket would have an obstructed view of the stage, which would look like a huge fuck-up for Uno's company and get him, Uno, fired. He's going to have to find a new venue as close to the old one as possible in days after everything was already set. He's freaking out, on the phone constantly now, talking louder into the mic, pacing even harder, sparking Marlboro after Marlboro. Late one night, sitting outside a bar in Khon Kaen, besides an elderly Australian gentleman and his teen companion. The place was completely empty. The bar's owner brought us free drinks when it looked like we were getting ready to leave. Uno starts to loosen up. The mayor had fucked Uno. Bad. Now he's offering to help find a new venue. You want to help me? Uno says he told him. You want to help me? Give me a gun so I can fucking shoot myself. We're on our own in Chiang Mai. Maybe every concert Uno organizes is like this. Politicians like bar bouncers that have to be finessed in the right way. Last-minute fuck-ups that have to be solved entirely over the phone. From a moving van full of Californians looking for a very particular kind of cheap food. For a kid with ambitions to move up the superbrand's ladder, these are tests. Figuring out how to get what you need from a corrupt, small-time mayor isn't all that different from getting what the corporation needs from some government official in Myanmar. Our last day in Chiang Rai, headed to the airport, I asked Uno if he found a new venue for the concert. Sure, he says, with a dip of his head. Everything's okay. He's flying with us back to Bangkok, then he'll turn around, drive back north for the concert. A few nights before, after the beers and whiskeys, Uno lowers his guard, says he's giving his job another year. Turns out he has this dream, and it's still pretty much a secret, to write a food guide to northern Thailand. Organizing concerts in the north, he's fallen in love with Isan food. Eats it in Bangkok whenever he can. I tell him he should do it. Fuck your job. I'd love to read your book. You found some amazing places for us. You have the gift. He shakes his head. There's no money in writing about food. How will I live, Mr. John? Okay. So this is a piece called Mexico in 3 Regrets. Cancun, 1997. We're on our honeymoon. Perry and I got married last month at an art gallery in Chicago. We had a Southeast Asian theme and served lemongrass kamikazes and singhas, and everyone got drunk. Perry said, "Let's go to Mexico." Neither of us had ever been. We bought the all-inclusive plan at Caribbean Village, maybe the homeliest hotel on Boulevard Culculcan, Cancun's Zona Gringo. It's cheap. There's a swim-up bar and a cluster of country boys with the jug-eared look of US military. The swim-up bartender has a name tag, Eloy. Eloy sets up the drinks in plastic cups that hold a lot of ice. They say the water goes through some big filter they bought for the tourists so nobody gets sick. You'd need to drink a lot of Eloy's margaritas to get drunk, maybe more than you could take. Perry says they're watering down the booze. The country boys are unfazed. They're chugging. I want to chug, but feel bad bothering Eloy, so I pace it. I think I'm starting to feel a little wasted, then I don't. It's like the tequila's on a slip and slide that goes dry near the end, just before the alcohol can go skimming into my brain. That night, Perry and I take the hotel shuttle as far as it goes to the very end of Boulevard Cuculcan. We walk the rest of the way into the city of Cancun, where the hotel workers live, including probably Eloy. I smell the charcoal grills of the taco vendors on the street, the savage scent of tallowy beef grilling over a carbon, a corn masa blistering on portable comals in the darkness. I'm afraid to eat. I don't want to get sick. We end up at Senor Frog's, where I lay back in a dentist's chair as a girl pours tequila in my mouth. Hey, I'm buzzed! But the ghost smell of meat on charcoal, that dogs me like a hangover. 2. Puerto Vallarta, 2001. Perry finds this gay guest house. A guy named Craig owns it. He's from San Francisco. It's in the hills above town, beyond where the paved road ends. A beautiful old adobe casa with cupolas and a pool, views, and a monkey raiding the mango tree that hangs over the terrace. It's off-season, and we're the only ones here, besides Craig, who's always on his laptop. We take a swim. Craig comes asking if we want mango margaritas. We feel like we have to say yes. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, how much are these going to cost? But they taste good, and we order a couple more. Next day, we decide to go to a gay beach bar and hang out you have to take a boat to. It's called Paco's Paradise. We get to the beach, and a boatman looks at us and says, "Paco's Paradise?" I think, it's that obvious? He drops us off on a rocky inlet where a couple of boys with a net are catching small fish. An old man has a pair of bigger fish he's split and impaled on sticks in the sand, roasting over a little fire. Paco's place is up on the beach, a few lounge chairs and a tattered volleyball net. There's a wide open casa that feels abandoned, except Mariah Carey is blasting and a couple of girls are mopping the floor. They look up and smile. We decide to bail. Down to the beach and across an outcropping of tumbled slabs jutting into the sea. Beyond where the stones end, we can see another beach. There are people there. When we get to it, we realize too, it too is an isolated place you get to by boat, except this one's not gay. I think it's some eco-theme park. You have to pay to get there, and everything's included, only we didn't pay, we crashed it. A woman in an embroidered campesina costume waves us to the lunch buffet. A waiter in a straw hat brings us beers. There's no bill, no cashier when we leave to go lay on the beach. Bells clang. "Are you part of the green group?" a man asks. "Your boat is leaving now." We file onto the boat. I'm thinking, when they figure out we are not part of the green group, we are so busted. But we don't get busted. We help ourselves to more beers from the cooler on deck. We have no clue where we're getting dropped off until we see it. The cruise ship pier. We're laughing. After a long ride in a taxi, On unpaved switchbacks, we're at Craig's again, but no longer alone. 2 Latino guys are sitting by the pool holding hands. They're from LA. Get the mango margaritas, I say. They're really good. We tell them about Paco's, but it sounds flimsy in the telling. In my mind, the only point becomes the old man's fish we failed to taste. Number 3, Tulum, 2012. Roberto, our one-armed driver, is taking us down the narrow highway on the way out of Mérida, languorous capital of the Yucatan. He's driving us to Tulum, a 3.5-hour trip by road through long stretches of dry, tropical scrub. Perry and I have reservations at Adonis, a gay resort with a name that kind of embarrasses me when I have to repeat it to Roberto, but whatever, we're going for it. Ah, Adonis, Roberto says, his inflection signaling that he gets what's up, as if we'd asked him to take us to a brothel, and don't worry, amigos, because he'll be totally discreet about it. Roberto is an enormous man in a crisp white guayabera, the redundant sleeve pinned to its tunic. He has a deep, round voice and sings while driving. I think the entertainment is considered part of the ride service. After a couple of hours, we approach a town, actually a pretty little colonial city, Valladolid. I'll take you around so you can see it, Roberto's voice booms in the cramped headspace of his Jetta. Then perhaps we can eat. The car creeps through streets of narrow sidewalks and high stucco walls, past machine gun federales with faces like Mayan temple glyphs, to pause before the 16th century convent de San Bernardino de Siena, jagged and fortress-like. I know a little place where we can have a snack, Roberto says. Nothing fancy. He parks on the street, leads us to a covered arcade with tables in the middle ringed with tiendas and loncheras. The one he stops at is a sloppy counter peppered with flies, with a line of plastic buckets holding sauced meats and salsas in shades of red and amber. Perry gets a couple of tacos. I follow Roberto's lead and get the panuchos, scraggy corn masa purses filled with refried black beans of a mineral potency and a lardish gloss, piled with pink pickled onions and shredded achiote-stained turkey with the deepest flavor you can imagine. They're amazing. I go get another and one for Perry. A couple of hours later, we've said goodbye to Roberto and dropped our bags in our room at the Adonis, which is enormous and austere, all hard stone surfaces and AC nobody knows how to turn off. We retreat to the pool where everyone's eyeing the pair of fleshy-looking, tattooed French guys in Speedos, Russian lesbians are chain-smoking, and the big American bear and his buddy will fucking not get out of the churning spa pool. By the end of the night, we'll have paid San Francisco prices for a mediocre dinner with the other tourists at Hardwood, which offers a little bit of Brooklyn on a boutique stretch of beachfront. In the dark, as we'll try to flag a taxi to take us back to the frigid charms of the Adonis, we'll wonder why we aren't in Valladolid, drunk out of our minds, heading back for another round of panuchos. Do something else?
Do one more?
Yeah, I can do a short edition. Yeah, great. See, great. This is the dirtiest cookie. Remember. I wrote this for my cousin in Portland. He started this little food zine called Snacks Quarterly. So this is from Snacks Quarterly. The dirtiest cookie. Gas station boys wear their uniform pants low. They have frayed black Keds and ball caps with the gas station name on them. Shell, Chevron, or Phillips 66. They have greasy forearms, pencils behind the ear. This is how it works. Your mom pulls her Impala up to the pump and a gas station boy comes out and says, fill it up with ethyl, and can you check the oil? He lopes over to the hood and props it open laconically, double dipping the oil stick like the last thing he's in is a hurry. He knows exactly how long it takes to fill the tank. He gets his reading, tucks the oil rag back in his rear pocket, and comes around and leans in your mom's window. He tells her the diagnosis and waits for her order. Top it with another can or no. I tell my mom they seem nice, the gas station boys. They're high school dropouts, she says as she pulls out of the station, tucking the crinkly charge slip in her handbag on the bench seat between us. You don't want to work in a filling station, she says, taking a last glance in the rearview mirror as I strain to catch a flash of back pocket oil rag disappearing into the garage. That's why you have to do good in school, honey. Bill is the friendliest guy at the Carlemont Phillips 66, a little older than the others. Bill likes my mom, always makes a point of dropping whatever he's doing under a car in the garage to come pump our gas. Today he checks the oil, but instead of coming to my mom's side, he leans in on mine, the dipstick rag still in his hand. Want a cookie? He's asking me, but looks across at my mom. She's wearing her blouse with the shapes like gold picture frames all over it. I like her in that blouse. I just ate my sandwich and I'm stuffed, Bill says. He's grinning. He shoves a crinkled wad of waxed paper through my window, tucks the rag in his back pocket. Oatmeal. He opens the waxed paper and the most beautiful cookie I've ever seen is there. It's bigger than the store-bought ones, just cracking around the penumbra where the waxed paper is bent it, studded with the juiciest looking raisins and a blonde scurf of Quaker oat flakes. I can smell the cinnamon. My mom does a real good job with these, Bill says. Then he lifts it to hand it to me, still looking at my mom. I stop looking at the cookie and focus on his fingers, which are smeared with auto grease. It's wedged into the knuckle cracks. Above the sweetness of the cinnamon and brown sugar, I catch an acid whiff of the underside of cars. I want that cookie. That's nice of you, Bill, my mom says. She hasn't noticed the grease. Go ahead, honey. I take it, feel the cobbled texture of the oats in my fingers, notice how it resists and yields to chew pressure. I'm smiling. My mom is smiling, and Bill, he's beaming. Looks like it's running a little dry, he says. He's still leaning in my window.
All right, thank you so much, John. That was lovely. We're going to have a quick 10-minute break, go eat food, talk, network.